points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to post-game show number 78 of this 82-game NHL Jets season. With Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Not that we're counting down the final 4 games or so of this season there, Dave M., but it was another disappointing effort for the Winnipeg Jets. They had a 2-0 lead. Then they didn't. 4 unanswered goals by the Carolina Hurricanes, and you really got to see the difference in the quality of the two teams as the game went on. The Hurricanes imposing their will on the Winnipeg Jets, more than doubling them in shots on goal, controlling the flow of play, and rendering that once 2-0 Jets lead to be completely moot in a 4-2 Hurricanes victory. That was the final. Good to see you on this Thursday evening, my friend. How are you?
Doing well, Drew. Doing well, and I think the general tenor of the conversation amongst the chat will probably be another stellar effort by Eric Comrie. At least that's the early returns so far in the chat, and I would agree with that. I mean, it was I thought it was going to be a 50 save effort the way it was looking. I really thought to myself as you're watching this broadcast, aside from Kyle Connor, who did Dennis talk about in this game? Really, I mean, Connor was. I mean, it was the Eric Comrie show. He was excellent throughout the course of the game, and we'll talk about it. We'll break down the penalties and all of that sort of thing. And obviously, he only gets scored on late in the second period with that 4-on-3 opportunity for Carolina. But I just think it just reinforces what we already knew about Eric Comrie, is that he's more than a capable backup at the NHL level. And I don't want to say that some of us have been talking about that for a long time, but it's true. We've been talking about how he just needed that opportunity, and people would be like, well, like I said, it was all the conversation we had last summer, right? And I said, guys, he'll be fine. He just needs to get his chance. And I know this kid. I know the way he plays at the AHL level. And everybody's like, he's just an AHL goalie. He's just an AHL goalie. I think if we've established one thing this season, is that Eric Comrie is more than a capable NHL backup. Now, should the Jets have had more faith in Eric Comrie? I mean, I would have for sure said so, of course. I think it would have been good for Connor Hellebuyck's season as well? I do as well. So I think the Jets, unfortunately for them, didn't learn to trust in what they had soon enough, maybe. But it's a shame, because he has been very good for them. With the exception of like 1 or 2 games, really. Which I mean, every goal he's going to have that in the course of a season. He did what he needed to do, right? And he has done what he's needed to do for them throughout the course of the season. Is give them an opportunity to win, which is again what he did for them for most of this game tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's going to end up getting the loss in tonight's game, but it's certainly not on him. I mean, 3 goals against on 45 shots when you take away the empty netter, which of course he wasn't in net for and doesn't get dinged for. But 42 out of 45 saves, those are good numbers. When this season mercifully comes to an end, about 9 or 10 days from now on Sunday, May the 1st. And then the postmortem begins, and the postmortem is going to be deep, and it's going to take a long time. Certainly one of the topics in that postmortem is going to be the Jets' usage of Eric Comrie and overusage of Connor Hellebuyck, and why they were so insistent and why they acted as if they didn't have a quality backup goaltender, when Eric Comrie has shown this year that he certainly can fill that role. I suspect he'll fill that role again next year with a slight improvement in his salary. RFA again next year, so he'll be under contract, and I would expect the Jets would probably be interested in bringing him back. And why didn't they trust him more often? Why did they overuse Connor Hellebuyck to the extent that they did? Clearly just another one of the litany of issues that this team is going to have to go through when they evaluate what is a tremendously disappointing season. We heard from Winnipeg Jets captain Blake Wheeler earlier today. We'll talk about that throughout the course of this post-game show. We'll talk about some of the other interesting comments. Don't expect to see an infusion of youth in the final 4 games at home for reasons that are befuddling to me, that greater minds than yours truly will have to try and decipher, because I can't quite figure it out. But then again, there's so much about this Jets team and this Winnipeg Jets organization on and off the ice that I'm left puzzled about and scratching my brow, furrowing it even at times, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a shortage of things to talk about, Drew. I mean, that's the beauty of our show, and,
That's right.
that's kind of why I enjoy these post game shows so much, because before we only had to wait a week in which to share our views, and now
we can give the hot takes immediately when they happen.
I was gonna say now, well, maybe not immediately, but we do give those not necessarily, I would say, more lukewarm takes by the time we get to the post game show. But the reality is, it is nice to be able to share the thoughts right after the game and have some thoughts and have the discussion with everyone in the chat. So that's why we like it when people join this conversation with us, whether it's the 3 of us, whether it's 2 of us, or sometimes the Drew Mandel experience, just 1 of us. So
there was a brief Dave Manouk experience too.
That is true. That is true. That was the first time we'd ever done that on our YouTube channel, for the record.
That's true. I highlight this comment. Ian in the chat just said John Shannon feels the Jets will make Dave Lowry the full-time head coach.
Mm-hmm.
My comment in response to that was, if you wanted to see somebody just flush their credibility, whatever credibility they had, right down the drain, John Shannon did a hell of a job doing that. I'm not sure if he's angling for a job with True North or anything, but you remember when I said I was befuddled a couple minutes ago? I don't know what more than befuddled is, but John Shannon's comments there left me far more than befuddled. They left me questioning his sanity to some degree.
So 2 things. Number 1, if Ian is curious and wants to watch the John Shannon media or availability on Global, you can watch it on illegalcurve.com. I posted it yesterday. We post it usually every week. And secondly, well, this is gonna be a 3-parter. But secondly, don't piss off John Shannon. I've been angling for Illegal Curve to become his 100th follow on Twitter for years. We used to talk to him with the draft, and I'd be like, John, what's it going to take for us to be, as used to? We'd be like, what's it going to take for Illegal Curve to become your 100th follow? He was proved elusive in that regard, but that's fine. We'll get there one day. I mean, I think we should probably save that. I think it's good that you highlighted Ian's question, so we can discuss that more maybe in the second part when we talk about some of the decisions and some of the comments from today's media availability. Sure. But I mean, it was definitely it definitely perked my ears up while I was listening to that and posting it on illegalcurve.com last night. I definitely heard that comment from his chat on Global, and that's interesting. But
I think Doug hit on something. Maybe he meant the New York Jets and not the Winnipeg Jets. That's clever, Doug. We know the New York Jets have a history of hiring some lousy coaches as well. So there's certainly some symbiotic nature, I'd say, between the two organizations as of late in that instance. Why don't we get into some of the goals in tonight's game, Dave? Sure. There were 6 of them. The game recap is brought to you by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Thank you for putting the Betway logo up in the top right corner. The Jets open the scoring, 7-10 into the first period. Mm-hmm. It's Kyle Connor, his 44th of the year, assist to Pierre-Luc Dubois. And you have to like the individual effort here. And then you have to like the finish. And Kyle Connor and his quest for 50 goals, which is, of course, now, he's 6 goals away from that. That's basically the only really interesting part of the final 4 games of this regular season. And it's, he's got some soft competition he's going up against. So I wouldn't say no, but it's going to be a bit of an uphill climb as he sort of not struggled, but I think he got a setback since he had that COVID absence for a few games. But a good start for the Winnipeg Jets tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, that's exactly what you wanted. I mean, look, we know that the Jets were eliminated officially from the playoffs yesterday.
Yes.
The Vegas Golden Knights coming back and defeating Washington in overtime ended any hopes. Not that there were any, but they ended any hopes of the Jets potentially being able to ride a miracle to the end of the season. But it wasn't going to matter. But anyways, it's official now. which of course was why the pregame media availability almost felt like a end of season media availability, not a pregame. But anyways, so look, you're right, Drew. It is a focus on individual. I thought Kyle Connors, we've talked about it, how vocal he has been as a more of a leader on this team, and his comments spurred quite a discussion today with Blake Wheeler, and I think the difference is that Kyle Connor backs up what he does on the what he says on the ice. And I like I said earlier, and I'd be curious to see what other people in the chat said. I thought Kyle Connor was the most notable player by a mile. Pierre-Luc Dubois was, but I thought Kyle Connor was absolutely flying out there, and he looked good throughout the course of this game for the Winnipeg Jets. And I just thought to me that his name was constantly being mentioned, and it's easy when you're getting more ice time than anybody else on your team. But I just thought, Kyle Connor's effort there is just phenomenal. And look, it's a goal scorer. He's just a goal scorer, right? I mean, I was curious, and I went back and I looked. He's got the third most goals from that 2015 draft class at 175. He only trails Connor McDavid and Sebastian Aho, who they played obviously tonight. And the crazy part is he's played about 104 less games than McDavid, and I think 60 less than Aho. And so he's scoring at almost his rate of scoring is unbelievable. And he really is just a phenomenal talent. So, I mean, he ties Patrick Laine for the most goals we've ever seen in the Jets 2.0 history. And it's appropriate that he'll most likely break it because, he and Patrick Laine will be, for now at least, the two best scorers we'll watch in the first probably, at least 15, 20 years of this Jets club, I would imagine. Yeah, so, certainly. I mean, it was a good way to open, right? I mean, it seemed almost unexpected. The Jets came out flying. It was almost like maybe the myth of the playoffs, any of that expectation, they could just go out and play. And it looked like they were, flying. I mean, yesterday was an unusual day because they were supposed to practice. It was an optional, but they held no media availability. So it was, and I was going to say, I was going to joke. I was like, if nobody tweets about practice, did it actually happen? Because even the Jets people, and I'd imagine normally what would happen is some of the traveling guys like Mike McIntyre, I believe Scotty Billick of the Sun was supposed to be on this trip, but they, because of the quote storm, weren't able to make it out. And so they obviously didn't end up going on the road at all, but it was almost like it never happened yesterday. So they did hit the ice for optional. We really didn't gain any insight. So anyways, the truth is the Jets had that good start, and Kyle Connor opens it with his 44th of the year.
He certainly did. And then just before the end of the first period, at the 1855 mark, Pierre-Luc Dubois gets his 27th of the season, assist to Dylan DeMello. Beautiful shot in tight, used the screen of the Hurricanes player there to just fire it top shelf on Antti Ranta. Just a really nice play by Pierre-Luc Dubois. And the Jets got to feel good about themselves, up 2-0 after 20 minutes, Dave.
Yeah, and I jokingly referenced it. It was the battle of former Coyotes goaltenders in Ranta and Comrie during that wild year that Eric Comrie had when he was getting passed around all the place to the different teams and getting claimed on waivers. But look, it was a beautiful goal. It was a nice play and it was funny because just before that, the Jets looked like there was some consternation in the Jets zone, but they turned it up ice, and Pierre-Luc Dubois scores his 27th of the season. That's ties a career high for him. So he was feeling it, and I thought it was a beautiful goal, top corner. He picked it too. It was and you're watching this and you're thinking, who is this Jets team? And Carolina is still in the game. I mean, it's not like they're dominating because Eric Comrie is playing very well, and he's keeping his team in that game, right?
It sort of was reminiscent, Dave. Sorry to interrupt. Sort of reminiscent of the game against the Lightning, where the Lightning were badly outshooting the Winnipeg Jets, if you recall correctly, but the Jets were opportunistic. At that time they scored 4 goals on 16 shots against Brian Elliott. Tonight in the first period, they got 2 goals on 7 shots against Antti Ranta, but the shots in the first period were one-sided, 15-7 in favor of the Hurricanes.
I think it was 17-7. I thought it was. See, it's funny because that's what I tweeted, but then afterwards, I think it was either on the broadcast or NHL.com amended it. So
I have it.
That's
final game summary says 15. But
okay, well that's what I tweeted, and then I was like, oh, maybe we shortchanged Eric Comrie because they're now saying 17-7 on the broadcast. So maybe they got their graphic wrong, but we'll go with NHL.com. Still, I mean, the Hurricanes had control of the puck. They did control the play for quite often. You can see why they're one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's no real surprise there. Like I said, they did dominate for quite a bit of that opening period, but Eric Comrie stood on his head and was excellent. Whether it was 15 saves or 17 saves, he made all the saves he needed to make. And the Jets had the 2 goals from Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois. So, it was somewhat of a surprising 2-0 lead. But, at the end of the day, you go into the intermission up 2-0 against one of those teams, and you're just like, okay, well, that's where we are. Let's see if we can build on this.
Yeah, then it's let's see that if we can build on this. So that was ended up being the problem for the Winnipeg Jets. The Hurricanes, with tonight's victory, get 50 on the year and move into the top spot in the Metropolitan Division, 2 points up on the New York Rangers. So this Carolina Hurricanes team, how good they are. I mean, you could see it in the game. You watch the Jets, and if the Jets are a team that's built on speed, well, the Hurricanes are a team that's built on super speed, because there were times where they really made the Jets look slow, which just, I think, speaks to how good and how talented and how well built top to bottom and how well coached by Rod Brindamore this Hurricanes team is, because you can totally see how they move as one unit and how they're in sync with each other. And well, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school when I say the Jets were not in sync with each other this season very often. I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school on that one. Second period, Eric Comrie show, and then eventually the Hurricanes are able to get one by him. It comes on the power play after I can't even remember how many quality saves Eric Comrie made. Some just 5-alarm robbery saves that he was making. Teuvo Teravainen gets one by Comrie with 30 seconds to play in the second period. It's his 20th assist to Sebastian Aho and Anthony D'Angelo, and it comes on a 4-on-3 power play, a rare 4-on-3 power play that doesn't happen in overtime. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Vincent Trocheck are in the box for offsetting penalties. Then Josh Morrissey takes a hooking penalty about 36 seconds into the 4-on-4. Hooking on Sebastian Aho is the call, and really a 4-on-3 power play opportunity. There's a lot of room out there, and that Hurricanes power play is going to be dangerous in that situation. I guess sort of a two-parter. What did you think of the call on Morrissey, and then what did you think of the goal itself?
I suspect by my air quotes, although you were maybe not looking at the screen.
I saw them out of the corner of my eye. Yeah, I thought I'd give you the opportunity to expand on them.
I will expand on it for sure. Although I will just quickly get in, because the Jets obviously had some power play opportunities in the first period. But hearing the PK numbers of Carolina, I jokingly tweeted they may as well just decline it, because they have no chance. Although, as Sandy, who I think is in the chat, tweeted back at us, they'd have a 12% chance, but they didn't have much of a chance. But anyways, I thought it was a terrible call. I really did. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Josh Morrissey turns the corner, and I mean, it was almost a too much man penalty, because I just don't have a problem with it. I mean, maybe earlier when he's getting his stick in on the hands of Aho, that's maybe what they're calling, but I don't know. It just seems like it's, in that point of the game, it just seemed like an inconsequential play, and I didn't like the way it was called. I really didn't. I thought Morrissey had the outside. I just thought he used body positioning and leverage, and I just liked the way Morrissey played it. And maybe because it was going to create an opportunity, the ref felt the need to call it. But it is a tough call to make. I don't like it personally, and that's not because I'm like Jets colored glasses on right now. I like when you
don't even have any glasses on at all.
Exactly. Perfect
Maybe hang on. You could have Jets colored contact lenses and we wouldn't know.
Perfect vision over here. Lots of carrots as a kid.
For an old guy like yourself, you got some good vision still.
I do have some good vision. I'm spotting dimes on the side of the road. Trust me. So
unfortunately, I actually people. I mean, I have the worst eyes in the world. I actually can't see the screen right now. That's how bad my vision is. So I think I'll put these back on.
All right. Well, look, and so I'm curious to hear what people like. Okay, we got T. Conapoli saying that's a soft call. I'm inclined to call it a soft call. I like I said, if the Jets get penalties, I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. But you want it to be the right call, and to me that just didn't see. Like, again, maybe the ref called the earlier play, and he just didn't whistle until Morrissey took possession of the puck. But I don't know.
There would be a delay reaction. I mean,
right.
when he got his stick in the hands, that probably would have been where the call should have been made, not after the puck had already been transitioned up the ice. I would agree that I think they were going to let it go. And then when it turned into a potential scoring chance, that's when they decided that it needed to be a penalty.
Yeah, no, and that was my feeling on it, was that once it became an opportunity for the Jets to take it the other way, and obviously Morrissey has the chance to score, the ref calls it because he now feels it's a penalty. I like I said, I don't like it, and because like I said, if he was going to call something earlier, then put your hand up immediately. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like he didn't put his hand up until Morrissey took possession, and that's why I had a problem with the call. Not because, like I said, 5 seconds earlier, and I understand, refereeing isn't an easy gig, but 5 seconds earlier, when Morrissey, when they're coming out of the zone and Morrissey is, stick checking him, and you want to call that the penalty, well, that's fine, but put your hand up immediately. But he doesn't put his hand up. He puts it only when Morrissey takes possession. And so to me, it's like he's doing it because he realizes there's been a change of possession, not because there was a penalty being called. That's my general feeling on it.
2-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes, so they're still in a good position. They are usually a decent team when it comes to leading entering the third period. Alas, they're playing a very talented Carolina Hurricanes team in the third period. After a second period that saw the Jets outshot 19-10, the third period saw the Jets outshot 12-5, and more importantly, saw the Jets outscored 3-0, which turned a 2-1 Jets lead after 40 into a 4-2 defeat at the hands of the Hurricanes. Jacob Slavin ties the game at the 4:10 mark of the third period. Assist to the better of the two Svechnikov brothers, Andre. No offense, Evgeny, but I think he would admit that as well. Mm-hmm. And Martin Necas getting the secondary assist. You just can't give up this many opportunities in a row without being able to put stick on puck or man on body, and just eventually the puck is going to go in the net. And I think Eric Comrie made 1 save, 2 saves, maybe even 3 saves, and then on the fourth one, Slavin was able to tuck it in. Just before I think it was Necas was standing at the side of the net, and he was about to tuck it in if the original shot didn't go.
Well, okay, so there's a couple of things to discuss. First of all, Svechnikov was incredible on that shift. I mean, he deserves the goal essentially because he carried it in, did all the hard work, and doesn't get the goal, of course, but he if it wasn't for him, that play isn't set up. Secondly, what were the Jets doing defensively? I mean, there were a lot of guys watching. They had the best seats in the house. There's no question about it. But like I
think there were 3 Hurricanes players behind Eric Comrie as he was trying to stay in the play, and I don't know what the Jets were doing. I mean,
no, it was I'm telling you, they were standing around and they were immobile, and nobody was taking, like, it was like they were standing and watching. And sure, of course, Carolina is going to have an opportunity, and like you said, Drew, first save Comrie makes, second save Comrie makes. I don't know if it was on the third or the fourth opportunity. I thought I originally had said it was the fourth. Maybe it was the third, but the truth is it was too many. I mean, how do you let a goal that many shots on your goaltender in one sequence? It's embarrassing. It really is. It's embarrassing defensive play by the Jets, and they should be embarrassed because it's a piss poor effort on a goal against. And I know it's a meaningless game. I mean, game 78 of the season, who cares? But there is this element of pride, and I just thought that it was a bad look on the Jets defensively. Now, maybe you should be surprised because we've seen a lot of bad looks on this Jets team defensively this season. But I just was like, what are they doing? You know what you're doing. The reason why it's, I think, an aggravation for people watching that is because you're killing an effort by a goaltender who's giving you just a remarkable game. And so for you not to reward that with your best effort, it just seems like it's an insult to what Eric Comrie did for this team so far today and the season.
No argument. That was 2-2. 4 minutes later, 4 minutes and 11 seconds later, at the 8:21 mark to be exact, Seth Jarvis, game-winning goal for the Winnipeg.
I mean, he's a Winnipegger, so we got to go easy.
Assist one. I'll tell you what. I'm going to read you a quote in a second. I'll let you get in.
No, I'm not going to jump in. I'm not going to jump in. Go ahead.
Brendan Smith and Teuvo Teravainen with the assist. Seth Jarvis, as I mentioned, getting the goal. A controversial call. The Jets challenged for goaltender interference. It was ruled to not be goaltender interference after Eric Comrie's mask comes off after the original point shot from Brendan Smith. You've been you thought it was a bad call by the officials on Twitter?
I didn't think it was a bad call. I just thought it was a questionable call because to me, And I've had some, not blowback, but I've had people, say, so I tweeted out the video because when I'm watching the replay,
Mm-hmm.
now when I watched it originally, I couldn't tell if Eric knocked the helmet off himself or Jarvis's hand came down and knocked the helmet off of Comrie. And if that's the case, I mean, if the player who knocks the helmet off, that's the first action, then the second action is the player scores off that play. I don't see how you can allow that to happen. Now, the other thing I would say is, and that was what kind of had me confused, was I'm watching the ref who puts the whistle as the helmet comes off, puts the whistle up to his mouth. He's about to blow it, doesn't, because then he sees Jarvis is going to score, and then he puts it in. Now, like I said, I had someone say to me that the ref could do it in anticipation of the Jets taking possession, and that's when there'd be a call, or if there was immediate harm to Comrie that was evident. Now, like I said, if a goalie has his helmet off, there's probably an element of harm potentially to that. And I would think that's where you'd blow it dead. But like I said, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of refereeing expert. I'm just telling you what I saw when I'm watching it. And to me, watching that play, again, I looked like Jarvis's hand knocked Comrie's helmet off. If that's the case, how does the goal stand? That's my point one. And point two would be, if the ref is going to blow the play dead, how does he not do it? Like he's clearly going up like this. He's about to blow his whistle, and then he doesn't.
I'm of the opinion, and I tweeted this to the effect that I thought the officials handled that correctly. I thought that there was not goaltender interference when you watch the replay, because it was the original shot by Brendan Smith that pops the helmet off, and Jarvis didn't actually, in my opinion, make contact with Eric Comrie. And then, I agree, you can see the ref bringing the whistle to his mouth, but the rule book or the officials say that if there is no immediate or significant, and your definition and my definition of significant,
sure,
it's very much a gray area, no significant harm or risk to the goaltender, the play can continue in the continuation of the play. It can go on without the whistle having been blown. So I thought the officials in this instance actually handled it correctly in letting the sort of bang nature of it go. So here's Eric Comrie speaking post-game about it. Here's the quote, courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre on Twitter. The Jets goalie, Eric Comrie, says he believes the officials made the right call in allowing the Seth Jarvis game-winning goal. He doesn't believe it was goaltender interference, nor that the play should have been blown dead, but he does understand why his team challenged. You go back and you watch the replay, you watch Comrie's reaction. He does, if he thought he was interfered with, and if he thought the play should have been blown dead, I think you would have seen a more a bigger reaction from him. He did not have a reaction. Now, Eric Comrie is a pretty even-keeled guy, as we know, but you didn't see any of that fiery goaltender blood getting churned up or anything. And I think that combined, I think the officials got it right. And if you don't believe me, take Eric Comrie's word for it. He says that the officials got it right as well.
Now, more importantly, also, we can talk about the fact that how did Seth Jarvis get right on top of Eric Comrie?
Well, because the
Jets aren't boxing out in front of their goaltender once again and allowing guys to gain position on them.
But that's what the Jets have been doing for years now. I mean, that they front the defenders. They always front the defenders. And there's plenty of teams around the NHL who front the defenders, which means that in an attempt to block the shot. But if you don't block the shot, and the goalie gives up a little bit of a rebound, as Comrie did in this instance, not blaming him for that, as the puck hit him in the head, for Christ's sakes. Yeah. But when you don't block the shot and you're fronting the defender, that means that there's going to be a relatively easy opportunity to tuck in a rebound, and that's exactly what you saw there by Seth Jarvis. I mean, I'd love to go back and because fronting the defender is it was a relatively new concept. It's basically the standard for the last 10 years, or the status quo for this Jets team has been about fronting the defenders. I'd like to go back and see, really, does it actually solve any problems, or does it create more problems when it comes to rebounds and things of that nature? somebody with more time on their hands can do a deep dive PhD thesis into that and do some statistical analysis on that going back years. But in any event,
we don't know how scientific it is, but Rob agrees with you.
There you go. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it. I think that's a couple times Rob's agreed with me today, which I don't know how often that happens. So I appreciate the love. We appreciate the love from everybody joining us in the chat on this Thursday night. Nice to see so many of you. If you haven't already done so, you know what you need to do. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Rate us, review us, tell your friends, tell your family. The best place to be is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Look, we only got 4 more of these post-game shows to go.
Jets post-game shows.
Jets post-game shows. Maybe we'll have some Moose post-game shows. Maybe we'll have some other things in store for you. We're not going anywhere. Don't you guys can't get rid of us that quickly, that easily. Don't worry about that. But only 4 more. 4 horsemen, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson little style there. 4 more post-game shows this coming week. So we got to make our time together count. Maybe sing a little bit of Kumbaya. Over the next week or so as we wrap up this 2021-2022 Winnipeg Jets regular season. The Hurricanes end the scoring, putting one into the empty net. The Jets tried to equalize. They really didn't get much of any zone time. The Hurricanes, again, are just a better team than the Jets. Yeah. And you saw that in the last 40 minutes of tonight's game. Jordan Staal, his 17th of the year, assist to Jesper Fast and Brady Shea, made it 4-2, and it was all over but the crying and the long ride home for the Winnipeg Jets now from North Carolina back to Manitoba. Love North Carolina, by the way. Great times in Raleigh. Highly recommend Raleigh, having spent a little bit of time there. My wife went to grad school there. And if you're ever in the Asheville, North Carolina region, they have some great craft breweries there that I do also highly recommend. If you wanted my North Carolina travel tips, there you have them for this Thursday night.
Well, Drew, you also forgot to mention the Pride of Thunder Bay, Jordan Staal.
Of course, the Pride of Thunder Bay, Jordan Staal. No question about that. Little known fact, another Pride of Thunder Bay member, one of the first guests on Illegal Curve Radio way back in the day. None other than Patrick Sharp, ex of the Chicago
most handsome man in hockey.
The most handsome man in hockey. I think he's on, is he on TNT or ESPN?
Yeah, he's on the broadcast. Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Anyways, one of the, I think I still have his number in my phone. Maybe I'll call him up, see if he wants to join us one of these days.
Yeah, call him right now. See if he wants to talk about
do you want to talk about the Jets and the Hurricanes? Who are you and how did you get this number? Would be the only accurate response in that instance.
What was it the milestone he hit in Winnipeg? Was that, you remember he hit some milestone in Winnipeg was it his final game or thereabouts? I think he hit, there was something. I remember he had some sort of milestone in Winnipeg. I can't remember what it was though. I'll look it up. You know what I'm talking about, though? Did you remember? Well, it was like it was fine. It was, I think it was like his last game was played in Winnipeg. Maybe he retired or something like that. Come on, chat, help me out.
That vaguely sounds familiar. I'll tell you what. Why don't we go to break after the Jets lose?
Final game on a Sunday night in Winnipeg. I don't need the chat. I did search my own. It's called the internet, folks.
It's amazing. That's what they're watching us on. It's not that you're introducing it to them. That's the key. Point. That's the key component that makes
not necessarily everybody. They could be listening to us on podcast. Which, of course, they would have to download from the internet.
There you go. Also, yes, Alan mentioned the Pride of Thunder Bay, Paul Schaefer, who's actually in Winnipeg this weekend, performing with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. So if you're looking for something to do, and tickets are all sold out for Rumors. So there you go. I wanted to make sure that because Jay Farrow's at Rumors starting tonight. Actually,
they had to add a show for God's sakes.
They added a show late night tonight. I'm not even sure if there's tickets available for the late night show tonight, but there might be. Check it out, rumorscomedyclub.com. But it's all sold out for the weekend. But of course, Paul Schaefer and the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra this weekend in something that I just found out about a couple days ago, which certainly was of interest.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either, but there you go. We're bringing all the random information under the sun to the table on this edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Jets and the Hurricanes. We'll probably shift our focus more to some of the comments from earlier today. Blake Wheeler spoke about the coaching staff, spoke about the possibility of bringing in some of the young guys for the final 4 games. We'll talk about what they talked about. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. It's a Thursday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Live on YouTube, live on all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey boys, finding parking on game day shouldn't take longer than the Minute Minute.
It shouldn't take longer than 1 minute?
Yeah, less than a minute? I spend at least 20 driving around to find street parking, or if I'm in a rush to the game, I'll shovel out 20 at a parkade.
You're both doing it wrong. There's this app called Grid Park. It lets you find and pre-book your parking spot on game days, and you can reserve your spot up to 1 month in advance. And guess how much you'll pay?
Tell me, Dave. You know I love a deal.
Ezzy, $5.
Come on, $5?
Yeah, and it's just 2 blocks from the arena.
The Grid Park app?
Yep, spelled G-R-Y-D Park. And you know what else?
There's more?
Our listeners get their first park free with the code FIRSTPARK.
Wow, so they just download the Grid Park app and pre-book their next game day spot for free?
Yeah, you got it, Ez. Promo code FIRSTPARK. Only on the Grid Park app.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Welcome back. Second half of the IC post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk with you on a beautiful Thursday evening. I have no idea if it's beautiful or not. I'm in my windowless bunker of a studio that also doubles as a bomb shelter. So, I mean, Dave got the fire still going. I don't think it's currently actively snowing. So I guess that's a positive sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, the snow was melting. It was the side streets weren't a nightmare to drive through, so that was okay.
Yes, I wanted to make mention, of course, that the game recap was brought to you by our friends at Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Neglected to mention that before the break. So, of course, wanted to slip that in right now, Dave. Saturday morning, we remind you the Illegal Curve Hockey Show will be back here. When I say we'll, I mean Dave and Ezzy will be back here. I'm off
back
on
in the
Saturday.
hosting chair.
Dave, I'm going to hold down down the fort for yours truly as I'm off celebrating my 10th wedding anniversary. Can you believe somebody's been married to me for 10 years? I mean, that is in and of itself quite the accomplishment, and of course it has people questioning my wife's sanity. But
Yes.
big day for us tomorrow, so I'll be missing Saturday's show, but I'll be back for the post game on Sunday, so not everybody missed me too much in my brief absence, Dave M.
Well, that's okay, Drew, because I can promise the folks there will be plenty of Manitoba Moose talk on
That's
Saturday.
all they want.
Maybe we'll even get a Manitoba Moose guest. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I will have all the power to make any decision I'd like on Saturday morning. So you'll enjoy your time away from the show, and I will enjoy my time in the driver's seat.
There you go. That is truly the power that comes with being in that seat. Let's talk about the conference, the press conference held earlier today. Press conference is probably too strong. The media availability, involving Blake Wheeler, Winnipeg Jets captain Blake Wheeler, spoke to the media for the first time in a while. I would say first time certainly on this road trip that has consistently been featured poor performing, from the poor performances from the Jets, I should say. What did you make of Wheeler's comments? I mean, I personally didn't think there was much to them. I thought he said what he probably needed to say, but I don't really think that there was much more there that I can take as a sign that this team's going to turn things around, or that this organization is has charted a new path or anything.
No, I mean, I wouldn't expect any. I mean, look, Blake Wheeler this isn't his first time in the rodeo. I mean, it's not his first time answering questions. And I think he knew he had to be somewhat forthright, and he couldn't deflect like he sometimes will do. I think he knew that the time for deflection when his team is out of the playoffs is over. And I think he knew that.
Couldn't blame it on COVID and the team somehow being young, apparently.
Well, no, although, Kelly Moore asked him about that. That was the final question of his availability. Kelly asked him about, his comments, and he addressed that. And, there's a little site called legalcurve.com. You can look in the pregame report and check out the media availability if you want to hear those comments. I won't go into them too much more, but like I said, he did answer that question, and Kelly, asked him about it because he's made that statement before. And, from an age perspective, it's not necessarily the truth. So Wheeler went into his justification for using that phrase or that term. So no, I mean, I didn't think it was anything significant. I mean, I think he just said that they're going to have to do some evaluation, and they're going to have to do some self-reflection. And, look, probably the most pointed comment by him, I think, or insightful, I guess, would just the fact that, when Scott Billick of the Winnipeg Sun asked him about Kyle Connor's comments and about the fact that, just in terms of, and Wheeler basically said, well, that's on leadership, which is on me, because I'm the one who sets the culture of this room. So, I mean, I guess there was some ownership there, but, I mean, look, the comments seemed to draw some ire, because I had a lot of people tweeting at me, because I was in the media availability this morning, and I, put some of his quotes out there, and folks are tweeting at me angrily about Wheeler. I'm like, hey, don't kill a messenger. I'm just repeating what he's saying. But I think you're going to get more insight from him in the offseason, maybe. But even then, like I said, he's not going to just pour it all out there. It's a hard thing to know, right? Because generally when you're doing a media availability for a game, the focus is on the game. It's not necessarily something that you're going to,
the Jets are so calculated when they do these things. They know exactly.
Yeah, of course. All these communication staffs are. I mean, look, they that's why they are what they are, right? It's not. This is all by design. So I mean, you're not going to be caught off guard by any of the decisions they make. So he gets asked the questions that he gets asked, and look, it's appropriate that he spoke today, given the fact that his team was eliminated from the playoffs last night. So I thought it was important for him to speak. And he did, and he answered the questions he was asked. So no, I mean, I didn't think it was anything, riveting or really earth-shattering or anything like that. No.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I truly wonder, and they're not going to do it publicly, because nor should they do it publicly, because you don't always air your dirty laundry in public, because that doesn't benefit anyone. But I am curious as to, look, this organization clearly needs a real introspective look.
That's right.
At where they're going, and it needs to happen in the off season. And I don't know if the people who need to do that look, who need to do that deep dive. I mean, obviously Mark Chipman as the owner is going to be around. I don't yet know if Kevin Cheveldayoff will be around. My suspicion is that he will be. And all the people who are saying buy out Blake Wheeler, they're not going to buy out Blake Wheeler. There's no chance about it. Blake Wheeler can still contribute. The fact he's overpaid is a reason why Kevin Cheveldayoff shouldn't be in a job anymore. It's not a reason why Blake Wheeler shouldn't be in a job anymore. I mean, there's no chance of them buying out Blake Wheeler as far as I'm concerned. And, but the offseason is going to require honest and sober look at this team and look at how they are designed and look at how they are led, because clearly it is not all copacetic in that dressing room. You don't hear the comments we've heard over the last week, 2 weeks, month, 2 months, and think that everybody's hunky-dory in that room. They're clearly not. There are issues within that room. I don't know, and I'm not about to sit here and speculate wildly as to who is responsible for those issues. Sometimes it's just personalities might clash. Sometimes people just don't get along. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the way people are. But that doesn't mean that you can't overlook the issues. You need to truly do that deep dive and examine what the issues are. Figure out a strategy to get back on course, to get back on track, to find a way to be, if not a Stanley Cup contender, because you gotta walk before you run, but get back to being a Stanley Cup playoff team, to get back to having an identity and a style of play that doesn't leave people ripping out their hair and doesn't leave the opposition sort of rubbing their hands in glee at playing against you, which is all things that we've seen this year. So this is all sort of part and parcel with what will need to be a tremendously important offseason for this Winnipeg Jets franchise. And it's going to be newsworthy. And I'm looking forward to being able to discuss that news and maybe even break some of that news to you fine folks here on our YouTube channel. And certainly, of course, on our website, illegalcurve.com. It'll be fascinating. Next 4 games, they'll probably be a little less than fascinating, especially when they came out and basically announced today that they're not planning on doing any auditions for the young guys.
Yeah.
It's basically what you see is what you get for the next 4 games, which I guess your thoughts on that approach, because that to me is a little bit curious as well.
Yeah, and there seemed to be, I used this word already today, but I'll use it again, some consternation on Twitter today about the whole idea of not playing the young guys. I actually am not so concerned about it. I actually don't really have a big concern at all with that, because really, who do you want to see? Okay, Ville Heinola, you know what he can do. I mean, I do, and I think he's capable of playing at the NHL level, but like you're not desperate to see him there. Declan Chisholm, okay, he's waiver exempt next year. So while it'd be good to get him some experience, he's just coming back from a lower body injury. He's just played a few games in the AHL after missing a month. So you don't need him coming up to the NHL. He needs to do what he's doing at the AHL level, which is playing a lot of minutes. And the only guy who I am of the mind who should be brought up and should be given an opportunity, and I said this on Saturday's show and I'll say it again tonight, is 2017 fifth rounder Leon Gawanke. Sure. He is a right shot defenseman who will not be waiver exempt next year. And Johnny Kovacevic is the only other D prospect who will not be waiver exempt next year. To me, you've seen Johnny Kovacevic already play 4 games. You could call him up and see what you've got in him. But at the same time, if they don't, I'm confident in saying he's a 6-7 option, maybe more. He could have a good summer, but like he to me will be a guy who will be on the Jets next year. Leon, I don't think is there yet, but at the same time, don't you want to give him that shot? Don't you want to see him? And I use the Brendan Kitchen example. Well, I use the Brendan Kitchen example, right? Of you created an animosity in a player who never got that NHL chance and never did again, of course, because Kitchen went to Europe after. And I just think that to me, you'll lose Gawanke next year to waivers if you don't give him a shot. Well, you might lose him anyways, but you don't know what you've got at the NHL level. So we'll see. I just think you're not going to learn. You don't need to learn anything. What do you need to learn from David Gustafsson? You know what he can do. Even though the only reason why I kind of hedged on this when I was having some conversations on Twitter on Gustafsson, at least, was because he hasn't played a lot at the NHL level this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously he's played those couple of games, but he got injured in the first shift of the first of both games. Right. So I know, he's played enough games at the NHL that you're comfortable with him. I just know that you're needing to see what you've got in him at the NHL level, as much as, like I said, a Leon Gavanke, maybe a Johnny Kovacevic again. I mean, he's got the 4 games under his belt. And the only other guy who I think you might want to have a question mark about and see what you've got at the NHL level is Jeff Malott, because you got him into that one game in Chicago, but maybe get him into a game or two. So, to me, it doesn't matter. And the other thing I was going to mention is there's a couple of points. Number one is, are you going to really evaluate a player playing him 5 minutes? Are you really evaluating a guy? Are you going to be like, wow, I know what Leon Gavanke can do at the NHL level. Played 4 minutes. No. So if you're not going to play him, then who cares? It's just a complete waste of time. I can't stand, it's playing in the NHL. No. Like I said, to give him an NHL opportunity, even if it's 4 minutes, obviously that's better than 0. But at the same time, I'm just from an evaluation perspective, it's not very useful, number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, the concern is, and remember, people have to be aware of this, do you really want to mess with the Moose chemistry, right? And I'm not talking about like people are like, oh, the Jets culture, the Moose culture. Guys, no offense, that doesn't mean anything. These guys aren't going to bring whatever they quote learn at the NHL level in that regard, and it's going to impact that. Nothing is going to impact this Moose room. If like I said, take it from me. I watch this team. I know this team. Nothing is changing the way this room is together. These guys are as tight a team as, like Mark Morrison said to me last week. He goes, they're unique. And he's been in the league a lot longer and covering teams and working with teams a lot longer than most of us. And he called this team.
You haven't worked at the NHL level longer than Mark Morrison?
Involved, I'm saying. And the point is, he's got a number of
teasing,
years. And so the point is that he called them a unique group. So you don't have to worry about it in that regard. Yeah. But you do have to worry about it from a practical standpoint, right? These guys are playing Tuesday. Well, they're playing on the road this weekend in Milwaukee and Rockford, which are coincidentally 2 teams they might be playing. One of the 2 teams they could be playing in the first round. And then second of all, you've got I agree that it could be a good reward, but the problem is you've got a Moose game on Tuesday against Texas, and then you've got games Saturday, Sunday, I believe, or Friday, Saturday, I can't remember, but against Abbotsford. So you don't necessarily, that's literally, there's a Jets, it goes like Moose is Tuesday, Jets play Wednesday, Moose play Thursday, Jets play Friday, Moose play Saturday, Jets play Sunday. So my point is that, between Tuesday and Sunday, if you bring these guys up, there's a lot of running down. And so I like I said, I just worry in that regard. So do you need to do it? Do you need to really evaluate Gustafsson and these guys at the NHL level and like Heinola, no, Chisholm, like I said, dealing with it, recovering from an injury. So you're not going to bring him up. So really it's Malott. Burden, you don't have to worry about. I've been having some conversations with people who ask me about Mikhail Burden. Again, he's waiver exempt next year. Maybe you give him a game. Why not? You give him the Flyers game, or you give him the Seattle. Well, maybe not the Seattle game, but you give him the Flyers game. You just see what he's like at the NHL level. He's been better of late. His last 4 games, he hasn't allowed more than 2 goals. So he's not having a great season. I think his save percentage is 28th in the AHL. His goals against a little bit better. His Moose are better, in that regard. But they don't allow a lot of shots, and they're usually controlling the puck, not giving it up. But like I said, to me, there's just 1 or 2 guys that really you want to look at the NHL level. Like I said, Kovacevic, I could see. Gavanke, I could see. And other than that, I wouldn't lose my mind over them not doing it because I think, and again, I'm going to go back to a quote from Mark Morrison, 2 rounds of the playoffs is a whole season of development for these guys. So that's where you want these guys to learn, not in 5 minutes in an NHL appearance. It'll be great, like I said, for a guy like Leon to be able to say he played in the NHL at some point, and it'll be good for his confidence going into the summer. But I think what's most important for the development, for the long-term development of these players as prospects for the Winnipeg Jets, is to be able to play in the Calder Cup playoffs, potentially go on a Calder Cup run, and build confidence that way.
There you go, Dave M. with his thoughts on the use of young players. We're going to give the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment away. Justin Newstrom, you see his comment on the screen. Still would be nice to reward some of the Moose for their good work this year as a morale boost. Justin, that's tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. Send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com, with your mailing information. You can also DM it to me on Twitter @ICDrew, and we'll hook you up with a toque from our friends at Tough Duck, the sponsor of the hardest hitting comment. Want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. They make the post-game show, they make the website, they make the Saturday show a possibility. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. As we mentioned, Jay Farrow is there right now. I'm not sure if there's any tickets available for the late show tonight, but I know the whole weekend sold out. Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Grid Park support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Dave M., final thought for you before we wrap up on this Thursday evening.
Sorry, I was trying to respond to some comments in the chat, and there's not much to say. I mean, it's been a good season. I've been enjoying these post-game shows with everyone, and
4 more to go. We're not done yet.
No, we're not done yet. We've still got 4 more to go, and we'll be rolling this Saturday. Plenty of things to talk about. There's plenty of positivity in the hockey market, not necessarily with the Winnipeg Jets, but the Manitoba Moose are going to be playing playoff hockey. The Winnipeg Ice have this weekend their first round series upcoming against the Raiders. So there's still lots of hockey to focus on in this province, and of course Brandon as well. So although we don't drive out to Brandon, so we don't necessarily focus too much on the Wheaties, but there's a lot of things to cover. We'll have it all covered on illegalcurve.com and on this show. So definitely pay attention to what is going on here and smash that like button before you head over to Kenny and Rennie and join them to have even more post-game chat.
There you go. Well said, Dave M. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. We remind you, before you leave, smash the like button. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends, tell your family that the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and again on Saturday mornings, is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Thanks so much to everybody for joining us. Thanks so much to the sponsors. For Dave Minuk, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Until Saturday at 9 a.m., we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve postgame show.